Now, in 1975, the London Dungeon was built, and it, over the years, increased and became owned by Merlin Entertainment. It also started to have actors in it, and it became very popular. However, a new company was built, not owned by Merlin, called the London Bridge Experience and Tombs, and this company had been built in real tombs with real human remains in, and made its money by hiding the box office, which looked like the entrance, across the road from the dungeons to make the queue look shorter. However, the real queue was on the other side of the building. So many people went here thinking it was a lot quicker to get in than the dungeons, and possibly better. And the dungeons got very angry about that. There was a political war for a while. However, the Tombs and Bridge Experience won because of their queue lengths, really. However, I'm going to be comparing the attractions and not the queues, and you can let me know what you think about this in the comments if you have a different opinion from what I'm going to say. But before the fight begins, I think we should split the dungeons into two halves. I know, my English is lovely. There were two versions of the London Dungeon, two versions of pretty much every dungeon that was built before 2013. There was the pre-revamp version of the London Dungeon, and there was the after-revamp version. I personally prefer the pre-revamp one, as it scared me, even as a child. Not so much that I cried my eyes out. It looks scarier from the outside than it is on the inside, but it's still terrifying. It was still terrifying inside, but I still enjoyed it, and I always wanted to do it again. The new dungeons, they have more budget, as proved by the drop ride, where they do something which I'm not going to spoil because it's probably the best part of the new dungeon, and they've got a famous actor, Brian Blessed, in there. They've made the Sweeney Todd scene better, but what they haven't done is maintain the scare factor, and they've used a lot more of the jokes in the new dungeon. For an example, I'm going to use the anatomy scene, which scared the life out of me as a child, and I'm immune to horror movies, probably because I went here and also watched horror movies at a young age. But there was a scene in the old dungeons, which I am going to spoil because it doesn't exist anymore. It's been remade in the new dungeons, but they've done it differently. It was an anatomy show, and I didn't really get what was going on, but, you know, a surgeon went through a body, and then the lights would go out as if it wasn't dark enough, and blood would squirt on you. It was really water, but then they'd get someone else, put them in a chair, and for some reason they got a long blade and slashed the person's head open as the lights went out, and the scariest scream I ever heard played. However, in the new dungeons, it starts off with the doctor talking to you like, "Oh, hi, I'm the doctor's apprentice, I'm Dr. Boghurst's apprentice. You may be wondering where the doctor is. He's here on the bed." Turns out it's the dead body they're about to experiment on. And the doctor's apprentice rummages through the body, sprays you with water that's coming out the heart, and it's good and it's comedic, but it's nothing compared to the old one. And the head cutting scene is very different as well. They turn all the lights out apart and cover a curtain over whoever's about to be hit in the head with blades, but a light comes on and it looks very atmospheric, and just seeing a shadow of someone being hit with blood splattering onto it and a terrifying scream would have been scary, but instead they play dull sound effects, and it's not scary at all. But I'm not trying to shame the new dungeon, as it's still very comedically good, and the drop ride is probably better than it was in the old one, although the old one had some very good animatronics in it. There's also other things like how the new Dungeons relies on audio. The old Dungeons only used that for one scene, Sweeney Todd, which was a very good scene, but like in the new Dungeons, whenever else, because they also use the Sweeney Todd scene, which is still good, but when they use it in other scenes, like Guy Fawkes, when someone bangs on the door, the audio doesn't work, because the voices are very similar. It's all, oi, same accent and all. Now, time for the actual fight. So, the new Dungeons is going to go first, and it's got more money than the Bridge Experience, I think. And while the Bridge Experience had two separate shows, the Bridge Experience and the Tombs, the Bridge Experience would go into a bit of jump scares, but mainly the history of all the bridges across, well, all the London bridges, because there were multiple of them. And then once you finished doing that, you'd learn about, well, you wouldn't learn about anything. You'd either leave the attraction or be brave enough or able enough, because some people can't do the tombs, to do the tombs. And you'd go down some stairs and then an elevator, and you'd enter the tombs. And they are generally... I went as a 4-year-old. I was terrified. I went later. I wasn't terrified, but it made me jump a couple of times, which the new Dungeons can't do. So, if I was going to put it against the new Dungeons, it would lose. Because there was one scary scene in the new Dungeons, but two. I've already mentioned the drop ride. The other is where a boat ride takes you into the pitch blackness and you can't see anything. However, that's kind of been ruined because now you can look up and see the infrared CCTV, and it takes you out of the atmosphere. So yeah, the Tombs would win against the new London Dungeons, but against the old London Dungeons, I think the Tombs would lose against the old London Dungeons. Now, I know the old London Dungeons couldn't go full out scary because they had to keep it realistic, but the entrance contained a monster, which was kind of like a childhood mascot to me. I won't go into it. But yeah, they still had monsters. They had scary props everywhere. It probably scared me more than the Tombs does now, and it's... Sorry, does a fly. It was very good, and the whole ceilings were textured. You didn't have to worry about looking up and then being, oh, hang on a minute, this isn't real. The whole place was amazing, and when they did rely on audio, they didn't use it too much. They did kind of ruin it when they got Vengeance, but it was still an enjoyable ride, I guess. Vengeance was a 5D ride, if you didn't know. And then they closed and moved out. But yeah, I think the old London Dungeons is better than the new one and the Bridge Experience. Not to shame any of the attractions, but I don't think the dungeon should have moved. I don't think the Bridge Experience should have moved either. It didn't, but I mean, come on. One of them had to move. I think what should have happened is... Sorry about that. I think what should have happened is they combined to create the London Dungeon Experience. Yes, that's my cheap edit of it from Snapchat and Instagram. And there were scenes that could easily go together. Like, they could have the headkeeper scene from the London Bridge Experience near the torturer scene in the London Dungeons. Because they've got a headkeeper scene in the new Dungeons, but it doesn't really work well. It's just to take time for people getting off the boats. They could have also used the non-Jack the Ripper killings that were in 1888. Like, just as you finish the Jack the Ripper scenes in the London Dungeons. And they could have also possibly skip the Roman things, but if I were to choose between the Roman things from the Bridge Experience and Guy Fawkes from the new dungeons, I'd rather replace Guy Fawkes for the Romans. Anyway, that's my opinion. Overall, they should have either combined attractions or kept the old London dungeons, and I prefer it. But sorry about this, this is my first audio recording video. Let me know what you think in the comments, and yeah, thank you. By the way, this isn't meant to put you off any of the attractions. The new London dungeons is still very good, and the old London, well, it doesn't care if no one cares if I offend the old dungeons apart from me, and a couple other YouTubers actually. I don't mean to offend the Bridge Experience on the Tombs. I absolutely loved the Tombs part, even if it was cheap and made me think I could make this. But that's what I like. I like being able to think I can make this. Anyway, I'll stop going on, and I hope you enjoyed the video. Bye.